So, hello everybody, welcome back to today's class, or welcome to today's class. In the last class, we introduced CSS. We talked about what CSS was. Let me pull up the class outline so I can just go. Talk about what CSS is, or what, because that was the last class. We talked about why CSS exists. We talked about how it works with HTML. We talked about our syntax. We talked about types of CSS. So, we had all these discussions in our last class, and if you don't remember or you're having problems, you know, getting all of this through or understanding this, I prefer you go back to the last video and have a look at that video before you come to this video so that you don't get confused. But this video is going to be mostly practical, less theory. I'm hoping that you won't get confused in this video because you have watched and understood the last video. So again, if you don't understand that last video, you feel that there's some parts that confusing, go and rewatch it. If there are questions you have, reach out to me personally or drop it down in the comments so that I'll have a look at them. Don't go through this video without understanding the last one. So if you understand the last class, then you can officially understand this video. So I'm going to open our code editor. In this case, I'm going to go to my documents. Then I'm going to go to the folder where it's saved. And I'm going to, or I'll just open it directly from my VS Code. Usually I open a single file, but in this case, I want to open everything. So I'll go over to my file, open folder, then I'm going to pick my HTML class. So this is it here, and I'll select it. So now it's going to open everything for me. Good. So after opening your code editor, if you don't have this folder structure, then I'll suggest you create a CSS file and a HTML file. So use a HTML file and a CSS file. Again, if you don't know how to do all this, I suggest you go to the previous videos to see how it's done. But it's very simple. All you have to do is just use the correct extension. HTML files have .html and CSS files have .css, as you can see. So now let's start. So now before CSS can do anything, I'm going to pick, okay, let's see this page. I'm going to go over to, okay, let me use this. I'm going to clear this. So now, before CSS can do anything, we need HTML, obviously. CSS doesn't work on its own. It's useless without HTML. So instead, we're going to just put in a basic HTML structure. Just something simple. So I'm not doc type. Now, if you don't know how to use standard coding practice to write your HTML, again, I'll suggest going back to the previous videos to have a full understanding of how it works. But in this case, we're just doing something simple. So we're just putting our meta tags. Okay, I'm going to name this CSS practical class. Okay, and we're going to add some meta tags here. Just, to ensure that it follows. So I'm going to add the chat text. Okay, so we're also going to link our style sheet. Now remember, I told you in the last class that we'll link our style 2 in this case, so style2.css. Now, whatever style sheet you are using or your styling is what you want to link. The reason why I have two style sheets here is because I was doing two different examples and I didn't want them to clash with each other. So that's why I created a whole new style sheet. So in this case, I rather use the style sheet that's probably the original style sheet that you have in your document from the last class if you have created it. So again, link is a tag that is used to link to another another page on the browser. I said browser, sorry, on the file explorer, that's on your document. It's used to link to another page on your document. So you see, the link element allows others to link their document to other resources, can link it to other resources. In this case, we have our relation. Relation attribute basically defines the relationship of the linked document. So the link shows the browser that is under document to check. The rel shows the relationship, what kind of document in this case is a styling document or a style sheet, and href. By now we all know what href does. It specifies the URL. So now that we're done with that, let's shoot over to the body. Inside the body, we just add a simple h1. So welcome to CSS. I also rather that you I also prefer that you code along. It's going to make it much easier for you. You can always pause. So this is the paragraph that we start using CSS. You can write whatever you want here. And I'm just going to add a button. So I'll add a button here. Click me. So yeah. So all this said, let me bring it in a bit to give you more space. I won't take it all the way. Okay, okay, from here to here should be good. Okay, so this is our basic HTML template. So save the file and then you're going to open that file in your browser. The name of my file is new file.html. Whatever file you wrote it in, I want you to open it in your browser. In my case, it's going to be very okay. Let me go to my style too. I already have, as you can see, I already have some styling there again from the last class that I did. I'm going to delete that because we're starting on a fresh slate. I don't want any styling to be reflected. So let me move that through. And this is how it should look. Welcome to CSS, a bit of basic text underneath and a button that is clickable but doesn't do anything. So this is what you're supposed to see if you are following along. So now I've saved this file and opened my browser. What I'll say right now was pure HTML. What we saw was pure HTML, no beauty, no design, no structure. Now this is why CSS exists. We have our HTML file written, but we need to add some styling to it. So the first CSS element and the first CSS element used in our syntax. Remember, we talked a lot about CSS syntax. I think that was here. So I go down to the CSS syntax. I know I said we're going to do more GST here, but I always feel it's necessary to add a bit of, explanation. So we'll talk about selectors, and we said that selector basically shows the browser what you want to style, tells the browser what you want to style. So that's the first thing we're going to work. And you can call them selector, element selectors. As I said, it targets what you want to style. So in this case, I said before that there are three types of element selectors. First of all, let's go back to our HTML. I want to also do something. So I'm going to come down again. I want to add a H1, another H1. I'm going to put it as CSS syntax practical. Okay. Now the difference that this H1, I'm going to put inside a class. Now you guys by now should know what a class is. A class is used for giving unique names to a tag that you can use later to reference in your CSS or even your JavaScript. For instance, I'm going to give it let me see, what name should I give it now? I'm going to give it title. That's what I'm going to give it. Then I'm also going to add another p tag. I'm going to give it a class of class paragraph. So this is the class I'm going to give it. And inside here, I'm just going to put a bunch of stuff. So I'm not really going to spend too much time thinking of what to type because this is a practical. And I want to add one more. So I'm going to add a anchor tag, an anchor tag. I'm going to send it to the index of HTML and I'll put it go home. So go home. And now if I refresh this is how it looks. So we have our working link here. We have our button. This is going to look. So now the first way to work with selectors is to select a tag. So that's the first thing you can select. You can select a tag using selectors. If I go back to my class document, let me expand this. I highlighted it down here. So as I said, you can select three things when you're using a selector. You can select three things. You can select either a tag, you can select a class name, and you can select an ID name. It's written here, so you can select a class name, an ID name, or a tag. So when selecting a tag, all you have to do is just write tag name like that. I also wrote in the document here. So when selecting a tag, by the way, this document, if you want it, just make a request for it. I write everything there in my group chat. You probably already have it there. So when selecting a tag using the selector, it's written like that. That's that tag. You just write it like that. No symbol, nothing. You just write it like that. And I give an example here. I said this was my example. So this was the example I gave. Let me take this out. I want to try that example here. So we want to select our H1. So we're going to type it here. I'm going to take our curly braces. That's not curly braces, I'm sorry. create our curly braces. Yes. So this is the selector. Then with this selector, we can add a property which is a color, put our double colon, and we can add our value which can make blue. And we'll put that in, come back here and refresh. As you can see, both the title, both the H1 have taken that style. So this is the first way you can select. You can select using the tag name. You want to select the paragraph, all you have to do is come down and select that paragraph. So P right here, put this there, and then we increase the font size and make the color green. And now when we refresh, everything with the P tag becomes green and changes color. So this is the first way it's done. So you can see immediately that the text color change. The CSS syntax, as I said, is written before the curly braces. So you can see the selector is always written before the curly braces. You write it, for example, button, and then you put your curly braces. And with your curly braces, the styling there applies automatically. So this is it here, as you can see. So this is the first way you can select. You can select the tag. Now the second way you can select is you can select using the class name. So as you can see, if I go back to my HTML code here, we have two H1s. This is the H1, this is the H1. How do we specify to the browser out of the two? This second one, this one is the one I'm targeting. I don't want it to affect this one. I'll just affect this. That is what this class name is for. As you can see, it has a class called title. And this class name allows us to uniquely identify it. So now, when selecting a this stuff, when selecting a class name instead of a tag, there is another way it's done. Very similar but slightly different. When selecting a class name, the selector is written with a dot in front of it. It's written with a dot in front of it. So, for example, let's go to our code. So I want to select this title. That's the class name I want to select. All I have to do is go down and put my dot title. And with this, I can change the title color to, let me say, brown. The color, or brown, yes. Let's use brown. I also added an underline and I made it bold just to show you guys something. So if you come back here and refresh, as you can see, just the CSS syntax practical changed. And if you notice again with priority, even though it had H1, it ignored the styling for the H1, this styling I gave here, and focused on just this. We focus on just this. So again, this is how we select classes. Now to select, the third way of selecting is with ID names. So let's say I create a whole new one. I'm going to copy this again just to save time. We'll come down here and shoot it out. And I'll, instead of using class, I'll say head, that's the name. And I'm going to put it as ID. So I told you that we can use either class or ID to uniquely select. And I'll change the title of this to I'm out of ideas, because I'm actually out of ideas. And I'll change this link to about page. So, oh, let's make it contact person. So contact the customer and I'll tell them contact us. Okay. So now if I come back here and refresh, I can see it because it's the H1, because the tag there is H1, it automatically took the style and the paragraph took the styling, giving the CSS automatically. We can change that. So in this case, instead of a class, we used an ID here, unique identifier, and bringing it here, you can see that the ID name is head. So you can convert our style, and instead of using a dot, this time we'll use a hashtag. That's the difference. So we use a hashtag title. Also, that's what we make the head. Yeah, now give it. And now we can set the color to red. As we come back here and refresh, as you can see, it's red. You can make the text bigger if you want to. So instead of 24, and put it at 60 to make it a whole lot bigger. And again, it's going to target this one. I'm out of ideas. So that's how you select between the three. The tags have nothing in front of them. The class names have a dot in front of them, while the ID names have a hashtag in front of them. So this is now, notice something very important. The CSS applies that styling automatically to anything that is matching. Just like how if we remove all this, if we take off all these names, so if I come here, I take off this one, maybe that's just H1, and I also come here too, and I take off this class name too, and I leave them. What's going to remember? I just have H1 here, H1 here, and H1 here. No fancy names, nothing. In that case, the styling is going to apply is this H1 styling. They're all going to be blue. So if I come back here and shoot, they're all going to be blue. So this is important to note. If I give two of them the same name, so if I went back and did it as was before, and also give this a class name, so although this is not done with proper coding standard, I'll also give this a class name of title and save it. It's going to take the same styling that I put for title. As you can see, they're now the same. So I also want to just put that out. So if I had 10 paragraphs, all 10 of them will change unless I use class name or ID name to specify. So now, as I said, this is how, so that is how classes are used. So now let's see whether we can style the body. So let's make a page look more a bit like a real website. We're going to style the entire body. Just give it something simple so that it look a bit more not useless, I guess. So now, because the body, now I'm styling the body tag, this. Now because we're styling the body tag, not a class name, not an ID name, you just have to just write it like that. Body, we'll put the background color light gray. And then I'm going to change the font family. Let's look for font family. Okay. Arial. I just like this font family a lot. Also with Times New Roman, I like that too. And now the color changed just a bit. Everything looks a bit cleaner after you save and refresh. The font family controls how the text looks. Just like how if you go to your Microsoft Word, you have different kind of font style. Background color controls the page background, as you probably know by now. CSS colors can be named, can be hex values or RGB. We're not going to get into that now. We're going to look at that later. We're just going beginning. So now the button, let's also look at that button again. So is there anything we have done? I think we started the button before, but there's anything more we can do to it. Let's see. So we change the background color. Let's change it from yellow to black. Let's do something more reasonable. Then we'll also change the color to white. Then we'll also add a padding. Okay, we have the padding added here already. 10 px and 20 px. Okay, now set the cursor to pointer. Setting the cursor to pointer does this. Let me show you what setting the cursor to pointer does. Whenever I get there, it changes to this kind of hand sign. So it's a normal mouse now, and you see that it changes to kind of hand sign. So now if I refresh, it looks a lot cleaner now. So it just looks better that way. Padding, as I said before, controls the space inside an element. Without padding, everything will look tight and uncomfortable. So if I take off this padding now, for example, I take off the padding here, maybe come back here and refresh. It's just going to look very, very tight and uncomfortable. So the space inside that element is created and controlled by your padding. So this is just basic UI design. So now, this part I want to talk about that is very, very important, margin and padding. So now, every part of a HTML element can be considered as a box. To give you an example of what that means, if I come back to my H1 and I put a background color, and I put that yellow for some reason, I want you to look at all the H1s there. Let me notice something. These are all boxes. Everything here is a box. It's a long box, but it's a box that way. So every HTML tag and element is a box. So if you can learn how to control that box, just like how we did with this, then we can learn how to control this element. And the two ways to control the box is using our margin and our padding. I just discussed padding now, which is the space inside the box. Margin is the space outside that box. So I can come down here and I can put my margin, let me say margin bottom as 20 px. Now what's going to happen is that it's going to shift everything under the H1 and give it more space, as you can see. So it shifts everything slightly, gives it more space. So you can add space below. You can also, that space you see, that small space, you can make it 80 px if you want to see more space. So let's come back and refresh. I can see there's a lot of space now. It looks a lot more. So this space now is the margin. Just like how the padding is space. So if I make the padding, let me say, let's put the padding. So let's put the padding as a 20 px round. So 20 px. I save that and come here and refresh. As you can see, the space inside. That space inside is the padding. The space outside is the margin. If I don't want to make the margin to be just the bottom, I can remove this bottom here and it as just margin auto. That apply to all the sides. And now you can see not just the under, everywhere is going to have space outside, as you can see. So it has space here and space here. So that's what the margin does. That space is outside is the margin. I said before, margin is the space outside the element. Padding is the space inside the element. I will just prove that now. So that's like this. Now we can also create a border, add a border, just to make it more obvious. Can add a border, add a border, and we'll make the border 1 px solid black, just to give it a color, make it thick. And now we can see it has a border here. We can also control the width. So in this case, we can make the width, so we can make the width to 50%. This will bring it down a lot because it's too long as it's there like that. It's way too long. 50% cuts it out in half. I can also make it even smaller at 20. Let me say, yeah, 20% should work. I can make it 20%. If I save it, go back to and refresh, you can see it's a lot shorter. So you can do this. So remember, margin pushes the elements away from each other, just like how we created space. There's not enough space between here and here. Pushes them away from each other. While padding pushes it more to the center, giving enough space around the box. So now, if it's possible for you to do, if you feel like you're following along, although this is going to make a lot more sense as we proceed, I want you to pause the video and try it yourself. Change the background color, increase the text size, add space, add, change the padding numbers, make it either bigger or smaller. Just test it out. Test it out. Just try it out to see whether you have a feel of what, because CSS is mostly about creativity. So let's sum up what we have talked about today. So I've learned how CSS connects to HTML. We have practiced as selectors if you're following along. We have styled the text, we have styled the buttons. You understood margin and padding. Remember, anywhere you don't feel like you're getting it, pause the video and write the code yourself. So this class is not about memorizing, it's about understanding, practicing, break it, pause the video, check it out, change the values, experiment. In the next class, we'll move into layout and positioning. We'll see you all in the next class.